You good? Are you evil? No, you could never be evil. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. For those of you that are new here, my name is Rochelle and this is my channel, Good Morning Dreamer. And today what we're gonna do is we're gonna go and do a wrap up of all the books that I read throughout the month of May. To be honest, I was actually very surprised when I looked at the total amount of books that I read for this month. I did not think it was that many. I thought I probably read only around like 4 or 6 because this month has been busy. And at the same time, it seemed like a super fast month, but also a super short month. And yeah, I don't know how I fit in the time to read some books. I know I listened to some audiobooks while I was working, but yeah, needless to say, I was very confused. But anyway, with that being said, let me go and dive into all the books that I read for this month. I am using the handy dandy Storygraph app, and I felt like it would be really cool to kind of look through some of the statistics for the books that I read. I've seen some other people go and do this on their channel, and I really thought it was neat. And it doesn't matter, you know, how many books you read. I think no matter what, it's still gonna be really amazing. So I'm bad at math, and I'm very thankful for the fact that this is all broken down. So I actually read 10 books, so not 4, not 6, 10 again, which is weird because last month was 10. I don't know. But anyway, that summed up to 3,871 pages. Holy crap. And then it does have like this mood pie graph, but I think with how that is, it's either the general consensus of the types of moods that other people go and put for their graphs, or it was what I went and put in myself. So I'll just read kind of the general themes. So I have dark, which is the biggest majority, and then there's emotional, adventurous, inspiring, mysterious, which is another one of the bigger blocks, tense, sad, and hopeful. Inspiring and sad were probably like the smallest chunk. And then for the pace, around 33% of the books that I read were fast-paced, and then 67% were medium. And then most of the books that I read were between 300 to 499 pages. That is around 70% of the books that I read. And then less than 300 was around 30% of the books. And then, let's see, 100% of the books were fiction. Also for genres, so we have horror at the top, LGBTQIA+, young adult, romance, contemporary, magical realism, thriller, science fiction, mystery, and fantasy. And then for the format, I had around 30% were digital, and then audio was around 10%, and then the rest were all in print, which was 60% of the books. And then my average rating that I gave out to the books was around 4.06. I think I had one book that was a 5-star read, and then 4 of them were 3.5 stars. And of course, I'll go through that as I go through the books that I went and read. And yeah, it looks like around the 17th of May was actually one of the days that I did the most reading. I think that actually was during some of my time off that I took. So that definitely makes a lot of sense. And then yesterday and the day before were the other 2 days that I read the most. And that was just because I was trying to get through my TBR list as quickly as possible. And we kind of did good, we kind of didn't do good. Also, Nugget is chewing on her toy right now. So if you hear anything, that is because she has one of her chew toys and she's on the couch with me. So let us go through the pile of books that I have. And luckily Storygraph does have what I rated each of these books. So that is going to be very helpful because my memory is just... So first is The Musician and the Monster by Megan Van Dyke. And I actually got this book through an ARC. And I had it through my Kindle for the time being, but after I read it, I was like, I'm gonna get myself a copy. So basically with this book, it is kind of like a Beauty and the Beast, Phantom of the Opera retelling. And this guy that is in this mansion, he's their lord and protector of their town. He basically hears this girl that is playing this beautiful music on her flute, and he basically asks her to go and move in with him because her music is what keeps him calm and keeps things in check. There's also this monster that is known to prowl around the city, and the way that he found out who plays the flute was because she was one of the people that actually was face to face with this monster and lived. This book was really interesting. It was a love story, and it, I believe, is a duology. I thought it was really good, and I totally forgot what I rated this. I rated this 4 stars. So I thought it was really good. I did like the retelling, and I've kind of been doing this thing where I've been kind of collecting any books that are Phantom of the Opera inspired. Phantom of the Opera was one of my favorite musicals. I was obsessed with it. I know every single word in the musical. So I've just kind of been getting a little collection of books, and maybe at some point I'll do a video or something along those lines just to show everyone the collection that I've acquired so far. And then next on the list was My Favorite Terrible Thing by Madeline Henry, and I rated this one 3.5 stars. To be honest, I can't fully remember what this one was about. I want to say it had to do with a character that's kind of like a private investigator, and she gets hired by this family who is looking for their daughter that basically disappeared before her wedding or on the day of her wedding. And so there's a few moments where you get different points of views and also flashbacks, and basically you're getting to see some of the pages from this person's book, who is the lady that disappeared. And so there's just kind of these different mysteries that are all intermeshed together, and the ending of the book actually did surprise me. It did catch me off guard. I was very taken aback. It didn't go the way I thought it would at all. But yeah, like I said, I don't really remember too much about it. And so I think my rating of 3.5 stars actually holds up. And I believe I did mention that this was a NetGalley arc that I got as an audiobook. So if I forgot to say that, I'm gonna include it here. Next up is The Sacrifice by Rin Chupico. And I actually had this on my TBR for last month and I didn't get to it, so I added it to the list for this month. And I thought it was fitting since it was Asian and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and so this kind of ended up working out. I also really love horror and thrillers. With this one, I actually was kind of disappointed with it. So I rated this one 3.5 stars. The premise of this story is basically Hollywood decides that they're gonna go and film a show on this island that is known to be haunted. They kind of want to film this whole Ghostbuster paranormal type of show where they figure they will get rich quick. However, everyone that has gone to this island has been unalived, and there is only one person who is a local native that has been known to survive, and actually the island seems to like this person and doesn't harm him or them. We kind of learn later through the story that the person is actually kind of non-binary. They don't really have a preference or a gender that they feel that they align with. But anyway, this person continues to tell the people from the Hollywood production to leave. They are not safe. They need to get out. And it was a very interesting story. I did like the pieces with the hurtful truth about how people in the US, we don't listen and we tend to ruin some things that we touch. It was kind of eye-opening with some very real concepts that make you cringe, but also like, no, I kind of agree with that. It was a good story, like I said, but it just wasn't entirely what I hoped it would be. I will try to read other books by this author because they are Filipino, and as some of you know, I am half Filipino, and I just really enjoy getting to read some books that have a bit more of the culture. So some pieces were actually in Tagalog. There were certain phrases throughout some of the chapters, and what I personally wish is that they would have had like a little dictionary or, you know, like sometimes there will be an asterisk with a little quotation at the bottom going and saying what something means. I personally would have loved if there was something like that included in this book, because as someone that only knows a few terms in Tagalog, it would have been amazing to get to do a little bit more learning and understanding of the culture and some of the terms that were used throughout the book. But yeah, like I said, 3.5 read, and I will be picking up more books by this author as well. All right, so the next one on the list is Unmaking of June Farrow by Adrienne Young. I absolutely love this book. I rated it a 4.5 stars. This book was amazing. I really loved the piece of magical realism. I feel like I don't pick up too many books that have that in them, and I always love when I do, because I guess it kind of triggers a piece of my inner child where you just believe in magic in every little corner, and like fairy rings, or like there's these hidden worlds or something like that. So with this story, June and her family, all the women, they're known to kind of have this curse or this illness that eventually happens to them, which basically makes them go mad. And so June, her entire life is trying her best to avoid that from happening. And it only seems to happen to the women of the family. So June kind of makes this decision that she's not going to have any children because she refuses to pass on this curse to her future child. But all the while, she kind of envies other people that she sees have families and have kids, and she tries not to admit it to herself, but this is something that she wants. But of course, because of the curse, can't. So her grandma ends up passing, and this is something that happens at the beginning of the story. And she doesn't want to admit to people that some of the key signs of this curse happening are happening to her. She's trying to keep it hidden. And one of the things involves this door that you actually see on the copy. So I forgot to mention, I have a special edition of this book, which is absolutely stunning. I love it so much. But yeah, basically she ends up going and seeing this door. So this has a huge part of the story, and she is told that she needs to go and open it and go through the next time she sees this door. And I don't want to go too into it, because I kind of feel like, the less you know, especially with certain stories, the more fun, the more enjoyable it is. I love this book so much. I rated it a 4.5 stars. I loved the whole magical realism aspect, and I really loved the way that this author wrote. So I am planning on picking up more books by this author and just diving into the worlds that she creates, because it is just, there's something about it I really love. And I loved this book. I love the special edition that I have, and I'm trying to convince myself not to look for other editions. So next is The Troop by Nick Cutter, and this book I actually DNF'd. So I don't think I technically did read 10 books, since one of them I only got halfway or majority through the book and quit. This book is really popular. So many people loved it, and I was really excited for it. I think if you watched my TBR for the month, I voiced how excited I was for this book and how it seemed to have these zombie aspects I was really looking forward to. Unfortunately, this book just wasn't for me. I was really sick to my stomach while reading this book and just disgusted. This book does have a lot of trigger warnings. One of them is animal cruelty, which I am very much learning is something that I just can't do in books. Movies, sometimes I can, depending, or you at least can like look away or fast forward through it. But in a book, it's just one of those things where, especially if they're very descriptive, it's hard to go and avoid. And yes, you can skip through the pages, but sometimes the damage is already done. And the damage was done with me in this book. There were just some things that I just couldn't do. And I believe I got, I don't even know, more than halfway in the book, and I had to call it quits. So yeah, this book was a DNF for me, and I felt really bad because I have seen so many people talk about how much they loved this book. But I think ultimately it's just the author doesn't really have my writing style, and it just doesn't fit me and what I like. So yeah, it's a bummer. I actually did get a copy of that book through Book Outlet, and the reason I'm not holding it up right now is I have it in my my unhaul pile, which will either go to a free library or somewhere down the road. But yeah, I was just like, this needs to be off of my bookshelf pronto, and I put it in the unhaul pile. All right, next up is Dear Medusa by Olivia A. Cole, and this book I actually annotated. I am not an annotate girly. I don't really go and like mark my books or anything like that. I've never written in my books either, but with this book, I personally had a lot of reasons why like this book meant a lot to me and why I had to read it for the month of May. And there were just a lot of moments in it when I was reading where I was like, okay, I need to go and annotate it. So I actually bought some little tabby boys and I put them in here. All right, so this book is actually written in verse, and I will give a trigger warning that there is SA in this book. So I'll see if I can leave somewhere if you want to go and skip through this book and listen to the next one that I'm going to talk about. But I'm going to talk about this one for a small amount of time. So, like I said, this one, trigger warning, deals with SA. The main character is a high school student. I believe she is currently a junior, and she was sexually assaulted by the school favorite teacher. And she was on the track team, all of those things, had really great grades. And then this event happened to her sophomore year, and she just changed. She kind of lost herself and changed a lot of things about her, such as her hair color, and lost some friends, became very recluse and very much a loner. And this book was just really amazing. So some of the reviews that I looked at for this book, some people talked about how they struggled with the way the book was written because, like I said, it was written in verse, and I actually really loved it. It made it a little bit quicker to go and read through. So it kind of looks like this, and I just loved it. So it also mentions some pieces about Medusa. So for those of you that don't know, Medusa in Greek mythology was raped by Poseidon in Athena's temple. And Medusa goes to Athena to ask for help. And Athena ends up going and turning her into a gorgon. So anyone she looks at turns to stone. So instead of really helping her, Athena actually goes and changes her into this horrible monster. And so there's a lot of really interesting things about Medusa in Greek mythology that especially intrigues me. So with that and knowing what this book was about, I really needed to pick it up. And I'm gonna actually read you one of the pieces that I have tabbed. So this is on page 14, and like I said, it's one of the spots that I tabbed off. And it says, never quite touching, I know it will come, it always does. When men like Terry take your silence for consent, or better yet, total ignorance, they know if you can claim not to know, that they can too. Like a hand down a teenager's bra, it is just a mistake, a slip in a puddle, and agree to disagree. I can hear my ex-best friend's voice now, Sarah. If you hate it so much, then quit. If it really bothers you, then why haven't you said anything? At that time, before she cut me off, I didn't have the words that I have now. I didn't know how to say, this world is full of wolves. I've already met wolves worse than Terry. Terry is just a dog, running from a dog. At this point, at this juncture, in my career with wolves, feels like admitting I'm a rabbit, when every day I feel more like a bull. Sometimes wolves hunt bulls, and they win, but sometimes they get the horns. And yeah. Sorry. So yeah, for multiple reasons, I felt like it was really important for me to read this book for the month of May. And reading through it as well was a little bit nostalgic for me, going back to when I was in college and I used to go to poetry slams. They were absolutely amazing. I never did any myself, but I remember always sitting in the audience and just getting absorbed into the energy, listening to the person that was speaking on stage and just like hearing the snapping and just being able to relate and feeling the power of those words and how they go through you. But yeah, I really loved this book. Like I said, I rated it a 5-star. And this book may not be for everyone, but it was really, really powerful. And obviously, I'm getting emotional and I'm trying not to get emotional, but yeah, I really, really loved this book and found it to be an amazing read. So yeah. All right. And then the next one was another audiobook that I got from NetGalley. And I also rated this one a 3.5. I feel like a lot of the arcs that I was able to read this month, I don't know, something about them, I just didn't retain them well. I guess I wasn't really in the headspace to want to listen to audiobooks. So I kind of remember them and kind of don't. And this one, it has 2 different names again. So the way it is on Storygraph is ex-girlfriend, but I believe on Goodreads it's my husband's ex-girlfriend, and it's by Rosie Walker. I really did love the narrator of this book and her accent. I felt like it really added to the story and kept me interested. So basically this family, they go to this house for Christmas, and I think that was one of the other reasons it was so hard for me to get into the story, was because like we're practically in summer here in the US, and so we don't have any snow of any sort. We have sunshine and we might have rain occasionally, and we're nowhere close to it being Christmas time. But anyway, this family goes to this house. Basically, we learn that the marriage is kind of having some issues, and so the wife booked this trip kind of hoping that would go and repair a lot of things. But then suddenly her husband's ex-girlfriend shows up at the door, and suddenly she's staying with them. And it just kind of unravels from there. It was really interesting. I was a little bit more immersed in the story and more invested than the other audiobooks I listened to for the month, but yeah, it was still a 3.5 for me. The next audiobook was The Unseen Sister by Andy Maslin, and I rated this one a 3.5 stars. I truthfully cannot remember too much about this one. I know it had to deal with a detective, and the detective basically has a new partner. I think this is also a part of a series, so this might have been the 2nd or 3rd book, which I was unaware of. But yeah, basically this deals with a detective, and she finds out that one of the first victims that she is solving this crime for is actually her half-sister. And so there's just a bunch of different things that end up popping up throughout the story, and I will admit, although I did not see the ending coming, I still had a hard time going and staying through with the story. I don't know, I guess I wasn't fully attached to the characters as much as I thought I would. So yeah. Then we have Secrets in the Dark by Darcy Coates. This is the 2nd book in the Black Winter series, and I loved this book. I believe I rated it a 4.5. I think I liked the first book just a tad bit more, but in the story you continue on with the main character and seeing what she's doing to try to survive. The thing I really liked about this book was you actually learned kind of towards the end what created the silence and what created the hollows and how everything happened. And that's as much as I'm going to tell you, because since this is the 2nd book in the series, I don't really want to give too much away or end up ruining anything for anyone. But like I said, I really, really, really love the series so far, and I'm kind of separating it to 1 book per month just to make it last longer and be able to stay in this world just a little bit longer. And the last book that I read for the month of May is Next to You by Hannah Bonham Young. This was her most recent book that got re-released with a new cover, and I personally really loved this story. So with this one, you actually get to continue on with some of the characters that were in Next of Kin, which I really loved that fact, in that you kind of got to know them a small amount of time in one of the other books. But I really loved this one, and I loved the representation that was in the story, especially for anxiety and agoraphobia. And the thing that I love with this author is that no matter what, in all of her books, there's some sort of representation. So there is disability representation, whether or not that's physical or invisible. And then there's LGBTQIA plus representation. as well as mental health. So there's always one of those pieces in her stories, and it just makes you feel so seen. And these stories deal with very real life concepts, which I also really enjoy as someone that doesn't necessarily always go out of their way to read romance books. So with the story, Lane is dealing with a lot. She is dealing with a lot of grief, a lot of anxiety, and basically is feeling lost. And she basically comes upon this ad online that says there is a bus for sale, and she decides, hey, I have money, I'm gonna go and do it. And then she realizes, I don't know actually how to fix up a bus. So she goes and asks her friend Matt, who she also has shared a kiss with and kind of has a crush on, but she doesn't want to actually make anything happen since she has a fear of commitment. Matt also has feelings for Lane, but they're trying to stay as friends and not ruin anything. Matt is letting Lane take the lead, and whatever she wants, he will go and respect that and do that. This book was really great. It was very cute. I had a lot of moments where I laughed and a lot of moments where I cried. This book also did have more spicy moments in it compared to her other books, and I did find that it didn't bother me as much as some books that are way too spicy do. So this is a 4.5 for me. It's not rated as highly as the other books only because they didn't have as many spicy moments, and I'm just not a person that reads a lot of spicy. I can read it, but it's not going to mean that the book is my favorite. But yeah, this one was really good as well. I just love Hannah Bonham Young, and I can't wait until her next book comes out, but I think that won't be until next year. But yeah, so that is all 9-ish books that I read for the month of May. I guess I've really had a good reading month, even though I thought I didn't. That is very exciting. I also do plan on having another book haul video that will be coming up soon, and then I do plan on doing something very fun and a little bit different for my June TBR list. But yeah, if you liked this video, how about you leave a bus emote in the comments so that I know that you made it to the end of the video. And also, I know that it is Pride Month, and I just want to go and say happy Pride to anyone that celebrates it or resonates with the month that we're currently in. And I will go and say that I want you to not forget that you are worthy and capable of amazing things. I love you all, and I can't wait to see you all soon. Bye, everyone. Hi, Nuggie. Hi, baby. How are you? She and I are a little bit tired. I did not get any sleep last night, so if you see any eye bags or anything like that, then the concealer was not doing its job. Hi, baby. Yeah. Yeah, you're just the sweetest. My babies. Contemporary. I don't even know what that is. It's kind of boring. Hi. Is that my baby? That's my baby. Hi. Yes, okay. We need loves? Yes, we need loves. There's your bubba. We're almost done, and then you can go outside. Did you just burp? Her books that are getting new covers. Why are you licking the couch?
Lazy Sunday mornings, hiding under covers. I don't mind staying in with you. Play your favorite movie, laying right beside me. I don't mind when it's just us two. That corner coffee shop we like to go. Late night walks with you to take me home. With you I never